Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern Stories Told by Spooky Gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoe, and I have an episode for you today. And I'm doing hand gestures while I speak, even though you guys cannot see me. And it threw Robin off.
Oh, wow. It also threw me off that you said, I have an episode for you today.
Oh, did I?
You did.
I have a story for you guys today.
This is an episode.
This is an episode.
We have an episode for you. Zoe has a story for you.
Yes. But first, Robin, how's life?
It's good. So, I was in downtown Greenville recently, and I had a very good cup of coffee. I went to Coffee Underground, I went there in a hurry, and they had a caramel latte, and I got large.
Okay.
And it just made me happy, and I just wanted everybody to know that I had a really good cup of coffee when I really needed a coffee. That is my life update, because I love the simple pleasures.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't ask, but I'll tell you how my life is.
No, I'm good.
Oh! You heard it here first, folks. Robin and I are no longer going to continue Haunted Hospitality because Robin doesn't give a shit.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can't we just, continue it while having obvious hostility toward each other?
But then we would have to call it Haunted Hostility. Wasn't that one of our ideas?
Southern Hostility, but that's a band. And honestly, I really like our name a lot better.
Yeah.
It would just, I feel like we would need to be more punk to do Southern Hostility.
That is true.
Yeah.
But anyway, my life. I want to talk about me. So, I got my car back.
Yay.
And I was driving today. Okay, so let me actually tell you. So, I have a small family of 3 here in South Carolina. Well, no, I have my grandparents too. But there's my mom, my brother, and me. My father's in North Carolina. My grandparents are here, but they don't listen to this podcast, so it's okay. But my mom, my brother, and me.
Isn't that like a...
No, you're
my brother and me?
Yeah,
Okay.
That is a podcast I listen to. But we're the 3 amigos, okay? Before I was having car issues, Rhett was having car issues. Who is my brother? Rhett, yes. He was having car issues, and he had to get his car taken to the shop because his battery died. And when I say his battery died, I mean it died. So he had to get a new battery. And also, when he got the car back from Firestone, the windshield was completely destroyed. And they're like, oh, that was how it was when it got here. So either the tow person destroyed the windshield, or Firestone lied to him. And I'm not that big of a fan of Firestone. So
you heard it here first, guys.
So, yeah, his windshield was cracked open, so he had to then get the windshield people out to fix his car. And so he was having a bunch of car issues. While he was having the car issues, I had the car issues where the linkage part that tells my car that I put it from reversed into park, that part fell apart. And I honestly think it's my fault because I don't stop fully between reverse and going forward, so that's probably 100% my fault. But anyway.
How do you not stop fully?
I'll still be gliding backwards. I'll slide it up to drive, and then I'll press the gas, and it'll roll backwards a little bit more and keep going straight.
You live on the edge.
I mean, it's fun to do. It's smooth. But apparently it was probably breaking my car, so I'm not going to do that anymore. And then, so right before I texted Robin this morning, and I was like, hey, Robin texted me and said, hey, when do you want to meet? And I said, hey, let's do 1:30. And then at 11:40, my mom texted me and she's like, are you busy? And I'm like, not at the moment, but I'm recording with Robin today. And she goes, my car's at the shop.
No.
Yes. So apparently my mom drove over a bolt and it punctured her tire, and she had to get a new tire or patch it up or whatever, And so I had to pick her up from Firestone and bring her home. And then my brother's going to pick her up from home to bring her to Firestone and pick up her car later today. But I'm just like, all three of us had to bring our cars into the shops.
What I'm getting from this is that you have a special relationship with your tight nuclear family, and I'm very happy for you.
I don't know. I feel like the car gods have been smiting us recently.
That's also unfortunate.
Yes. I don't know what we did to make them mad, but car gods, if you're listening, please forgive me.
Zoe, I can tell you what you did. You were like reversing and forwarding at the same time. That's what you did.
No. Mm-hmm. Well, how does that explain my brother who left his lights on the whole time he was parked somewhere?
We know that she's going to do this and she has a tight nuclear family and we really need to just...
But honestly, having to wait a week and a half and pay $230 for a $17 car part that's no bigger than an earbud makes me really realize that I probably shouldn't be driving a Pontiac anymore.
You have said this to me a couple times, so are you going to look for a new car?
I can't afford car payments is the thing. I can barely afford living life. So that's a big hiccup in the plan of buying a new car. So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, please keep us updated.
I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Something Southern.
Something Southern / spooky. Yes. Robin is so excited for this one.
I really am. So this is something Southern because I'm Southern, and it is something spooky because you're spooky.
Okay.
And it is a little version of the Newlyweds Game.
Woo!
Yes. So over social media, Amanda, Brittany, and Karina submitted questions for us to answer.
Okay.
So what we're doing is I sent you these questions.
Yes.
And I said, I need you to answer them and write down your answers.
Yes.
And I also wrote down my answers.
Yes.
So we're going to guess what each other answered.
Okay.
Okay. I have 5 questions.
Yes.
Or more. I can't tell.
5.
I have 5 questions for you. The first one is whose cat would win in a fight? Okay. I want you to answer first. I want you to tell me what? Yes.
I think you would put Soup.
I did put Soup.
You did put Soup.
I think you would put Soup.
No, I put Remy.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
So...
Because I thought about this a long time.
Yes, so did I. Okay. So, let me tell you, I have 2 answers for this. One, because I knew this was going to be a Newlyweds Game, so I had to put an answer that was either Remy or Soup. So, I think if we kind of forced them to fight...
I don't think they would naturally fight each other.
Yeah, so if we forced them to fight, I think Remy would.
Okay.
Because she has a little bit more spunk than Soup. However, I do believe that if we, put... a playpen down, right? And we put Soup in one corner and Remy in the other corner. This is my true answer, okay? I think they would just hide from each other.
Okay, cool. So, I think that's probably what's going to happen. I had to imagine... I wasn't thinking of us making them fight, but okay. I was thinking if they did fight, who would win? And the thing is, Remy, I think she is all bark, no bite.
I see.
Now, what she'll do, and she does this to my parents' cat / my cat, Tara, is she will pounce near her. She will make herself big because she's a big cat. And so she will run up and then leap and then pounce right near her and hope that it scares Tara. And it used to, and now it definitely does not. But the thing is, she won't fight her.
Gotcha.
But I was looking, so I have picked Soup up a couple times.
Yes.
And she is a surprisingly dense cat.
She's very dense.
I have to assume a lot of that's muscle. And so I was just thinking, I don't know. I feel like if Soup really wanted to throw down, she could throw down.
I guess that's true. I mean, she will claw you up. Kari has a scar on his hand from her, but that was when she was scared because he dropped something and she went for it and then he reacted and then she got scared. So that was the 2nd or 3rd week we owned her. So that was a month ago, not quite a month, half a month ago now. And so she is vicious. If she has nails, let's say that she has claws, which I attempted to clip today, by the way.
Oh, you did? Oh, yes.
I got the back paws, not the front paws, though.
The front paws are her paws.
Yes.
Okay.
But anyway, next question.
Mothman or lizard man? I'm going to say what
Wait, hold on. First of all, 1 point me, 0 points you. Let's continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this scored? Okay.
Of course.
So, Mothman or lizard man? I'm going to guess your answer. We're going to trade off on this. Okay. So I'm going to guess your answer first. You said lizard man.
Yes, I did. I did say lizard man. And I think you said Mothman.
I did say Mothman.
Yep.
Do you know why I said Mothman?
Because he has a nice butt.
No.
Oh.
What? What? There is a Mothman bot on Twitter who's hilarious.
I have seen you retweet that.
Yes. And it's like, Mothman is real and he's my boyfriend or something. And I'm like, yeah. I just love that Twitter. I'm hoping it's not actually a bot, but if it is, it's a great bot. And if it's not, that's a fun person.
Yes.
Okay. So now
I don't think we really have to explain why I pick Lizard Man.
I think we know why you pick Lizard Man.
Yes. So it's 2-1.
Okay, fine. Now, what's the scariest thing you've done? And I had to think so hard for my thing. So
I had to think so hard for my thing, too.
I don't think I put the right answer down for you, but it was the closest I could get based on your anecdotes.
Okay.
Okay. It's your turn.
Okay, yeah. So for you, oh gosh. I don't know. I have a feeling it has something to do with, like, a roller coaster, like riding the Intimidator?
No.
No? Okay.
I was 8 years old.
Oh, God.
I was 8 years old. It was Halloween.
Uh-huh.
My local museum in Macon, Georgia, where I lived at the time, was doing a Halloween festivities for kids. Now, there was a trail, like a Halloween scary, not exactly a haunted trail, but something similar to that, where you go through the woods. And it was ages 8+, and I was newly 8. And so me and my mom were like, yeah, let's do that. And it was terrifying. We thought it would just be like little things here and there, but like there were people dressed up as werewolves crawling out of the things. We somehow were at the front of this group going through the dark woods. Terrifying. And then we ended up in a cave, and this is really the scariest part.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had to run while strobe lights were coming, and a man as a zombie rose from his coffin and chased us with a knife. It scarred me.
Do you remember when we went to Deceased Farms and we spent like an hour and a half in the waiting area, and then you and your friend couldn't make it through the first room or into the first room?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was just so scary because I was looking at something. I was looking at one thing and I was like, I can't tell if that's a mannequin or a person, and it really messed with me. And I just couldn't. I couldn't, and I'm so sorry. And I bought you IHOP after.
You did. You did buy me IHOP after.
The waiting was fun. So, my answer for the scariest thing you've done, I don't think this is the right answer.
Okay.
But the one I came up with is walking on that trail in the middle of nowhere alone in the early morning, because it is probably one of the most dangerous things
It's probably one of the most dangerous and stupid things I've done.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I did briefly think about that. I'm like, but I wasn't scared at any point.
Yeah. And the scared is really the thing, because, like, going through a hosted tour, haunted thing, was not it's not the most dangerous thing I've done, but it's definitely the scariest.
I mean, I definitely have, like, I did consider going through one of those. Honestly, like, the type of fear there is, like, a giddy fear. You're not really in danger at all. Mm-hmm. You're just like, oh, no, they're going to get me. Ooh.
Not for me at 8, who hadn't experienced anything like that before. But yes, True. I do know what you mean.
Yeah. So, to me, that's not scary.
Mm-hmm. So what's your scariest thing?
I'm going to read you verbatim what I wrote, okay?
Okay.
Walk into a store that I've never been at by myself without instructions on what to do.
Do you have a specific... is it like...
The last time I had a panic attack was at a Target.
Really?
I am terrified of going into stores by myself, especially if I've never been in one before. Like, if I have to, like, I don't like going to any Walmart except for the Ballantine Walmart, because that's the Walmart I went to when I was little. So that's the one I know the most. So going into any other Walmart, I feel like I don't belong there, and I usually end up having a panic attack.
I didn't know this about you.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm terrified of doing things where I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. If you ever find yourself needing to go to a grocery store, just tip me up and I'll join you.
That's on anxiety.
Okay, so the next one, and this is probably my favorite question. So this was submitted by Amanda. Thank you, Amanda.
Uh-huh.
And it was originally, what story sticks with you most to this day? And I decided to edit that.
Okay.
And I put in, what story still haunts you?
Okay. And to me, haunts has a negative connotation.
Haunts is in, it scares you, is what I read that as.
Okay.
Or negative connotation works too. So,
okay.
If you were going with negative connotation, I think my answer is wrong.
Okay.
I put Moon River Brewing. No, that wasn't it. Sorry, that wasn't the right answer.
Okay.
I said Haunting of Poplar Hill just because when I was telling the story, you had a very visceral reaction to the idea of people who weren't there calling names.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then imitating the voices of other people who lived there.
You are incorrect.
Okay, I thought so.
I put Amber.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because I was thinking haunt in a different term, I guess.
And I think that is a very valid interpretation of that question. Okay. So I did not get you right.
No. But for you, I would say the Devil's Tramping Ground.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Hat Man really messed with me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's twofold for me. One, because the idea is, so we talk about places. And if we're not in those places, it's less scary. But the idea of the Hat Man is...
It can go anywhere.
It can go anywhere. And then the idea is if I am about to go to sleep and then the idea of the Hat Man flashes too much to me, I know I'm a person who is capable of experiencing sleep paralysis, and I would hate to experience sleep paralysis of the Hat Man.
Yeah.
So in terms of haunting, that's the one that I think gives me the heebie-jeebies every now and then, because it's just like you're going about your night and then it's like, okay, I'm getting ready for bed. Hat Man! Okay, and the final question, and you're going to answer this for me first.
Okay.
If I remember. No, or am I going to answer it for you first?
I don't know.
I'm going to answer it for you first.
Okay.
Is there any place we've covered that you want to visit?
Mm-hmm.
And for you, this is the Moon River Brewing one. I just was like, I feel like Zoey, because we had even talked about going, and it's close-ish, and so I put down Moon River Brewing for you.
So, I forgot about that episode until you accidentally mentioned it. That's like my most forgettable episode in my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually...
No offense to Moon River Brewing.
Oh, no. I put Bishopville, South Carolina.
For the Lizard Man.
For the Lizard Man.
Oh, man, I was so close to writing that, too, and then I think that idea slipped from my mind.
Yeah.
You really love the Lizard Man.
I do.
Okay.
For you, so I was torn on this one because, well, first of all, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to answer the questions for you as well, because I didn't know if you were going to give yourself different questions, so I didn't write this down ahead of time.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, sorry.
It's usually, in typical Newlywed Games, you get a different set of questions than I would get.
Oh. Well, we only had 5, so.
Yeah, no. So I would say where Mary the Wanderer is, but you've already been there.
I've already been there.
So I don't think that's it, and now I'm trying to think of all of the episodes, and that's very hard. There's already 20-something of them. Mm-hmm. I kind of think either King's Tavern or Moon River Brewery.
Both would be very cool, and I'd be very down to go, but that wasn't my answer.
King's Tavern is shut down now, isn't it?
I think it might be closed, but also, who knows, it might have opened in the meantime.
True.
Hard to say. What I really want to do is go to the Devil's Tramping Ground at night.
You know what? I was thinking about that. I was like, no, she's probably too scared to do that.
Nope, I want to go. I mean, I would be terrified. Like, that would be at first it would be like the giddy thing, and then immediately I think it would be like, oh my God, get me out of here. But also I'm going to sit down in this camping chair.
See, my gut said the Devil's Tramping Ground. That's where you want to go.
Zoey.
So I definitely was like, but no, she's too scared. Because we literally just talked about how you couldn't go through the deceased farm.
I just told you how the Hat Man scares me, and apparently the Hat Man is supposedly at King's Tavern. No.
Okay.
Devil's Tramping Ground, and I want to just sit there in our chairs at like 3 a.m. And, I mean, I won't want to be there when I am there, but right here I can say that I want to do that. And that's the thing that gets me to do the things that I'm scared to do. Now, Zoe, I have a lightning round question that's only for you, and you have exactly 2 seconds to answer. How many episodes have you done so far? Go.
14.
No.
15.
12.
Shoot.
I counted the Haunted College tour episodes as just the even ones for you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
do you think that's valid?
What episode I thought we were recording episode 16 right now. 26, I mean.
Oh, shoot, I didn't think about this.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking at the ones that were already out. Oh, it was an ambiguous answer! Question. Okay, well,
yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
You did who won?
I did, because I got 2 points and you got 1. So
okay.
clearly
cool.
We don't know each other at all.
We know each other just fine.
Okay. Well, thank you for that very amusing round.
Do you have a story for us?
I didn't yesterday morning, but I do this morning.
It's a fun reveal of our note-taking process.
Listen, I got back and I legit thought Tuesday was Thursday. So, yeah, no, I thought Thursday was Tuesday. That's how it went. So, like, I showed up to my karate class, which is every Tuesday, Thursdays. And on Thursdays, we have a different instructor than we do on Tuesdays, right? So I showed up to class and I was like, oh, that's weird. The Thursday instructor is teaching, not the Tuesday instructor. How weird. Anyway, I'm just not going to say anything about it. And it wasn't until I was leaving that I was like, oh, it's Thursday. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to be fair, I wasn't able to go on Tuesday because I didn't have a car yet.
You are good, Zoey. Nobody is judging you for missing karate.
It's okay. I missed an entire week and a half of karate.
I'm starting to judge you for missing karate.
I know. It's all my car's fault.
Zoey, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Story.
Anyway, yes.
What are you covering today?
I'm covering the Brasher die disappearance.
Wait.
Have you heard of this?
I don't know.
It's in Alabama.
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess go through the story and I'll tell you if it starts seeming familiar to me.
Okay. So this takes place in Alabama, like I said, in Jefferson County in 1956. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it surrounds Billy Dye, spelled D-Y-E, Robert Dye, and Dan Brasher, hence Brasher Dye disappearance. So Billy and Robert Dye were brothers, and Dan Brasher was their cousin.
How old were these people when they disappeared?
Billy was 19, Robert was 23, and Dan was 38.
Those are odd ages to disappear.
They were all together.
And they all disappeared together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the three were known partiers who often drank well past their tolerance. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know anything about the Appalachian area.
This is Alabama. Do they have the Appalachian?
They were at the bottom of the Appalachian, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In 1956, in that time, there's a lot of bootlegging happening. And most of the people in this particular area earned their living by moonshining.
Okay.
Which is illegal.
Is it still illegal, or was it just illegal during Prohibition?
Moonshining is illegal because in the traditional sense of it, you are basically setting up a jury-rigged thing in the middle of the woods.
Oh, so like there's no regulations for it.
Exactly. Okay. So I know you can like go out now and buy like pickle moonshine, but it's like made in a factory with regulations and permits and things like that.
Okay.
But this is traditional moonshining where it's highly illegal, but almost every single person in the town was doing it. So on March 3rd, 1956, it was raining. It was a very bad storm. The trio, so I'm going to call them the trio throughout this entire episode because it takes place in Alabama and it sounds very Alabama-ish to call them the brother cousins.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Were other sites calling them the brother cousins and
well,
stuff?
It's just hard to refer to them all three when they're not all three brothers. They're not all three cousins. They're just two of them are brothers and one of them's their cousin. So, it's yeah, I'm just going to call them the trio.
Okay.
Okay. So the three of them were at Dan's mother's house. So Dan is the cousin. Mm-hmm. With Robert's wife, Audrey, and another married couple. People report that there was an argument at Dan's mother's house, and then the trio left the house to go to a party. There's one source, most of the sources say that they left Audrey and the other married couple at the mother's house. Mm-hmm. But there was one source that I saw that was written by the baby cousin of these men that said that they took Aubrey, dropped her off at home, dropped the couple off at their house, and then went to the party. I don't know if it really makes a difference.
Okay.
But I'm going to get into a little bit of, like, police corruption in the story. Mm-hmm. So it would be very interesting if, like, all these news sources were like, nope, they went straight from the house to the party. And then find out that, no, they got that detail wrong. They stopped at two other locations before going to the party. And just that minor inconsistency just makes me think, what other minor inconsistencies are there?
Yeah.
You know? So, by the way, this was an unsolved mystery. Just letting you know.
To be honest, I was kind of assuming that.
Yes, okay. All right. So, people report that they had the argument and then they left for the party. They left in Billy's 1947 green Ford truck. And the party was at Billy's girlfriend's house in Robinwood, Alabama.
Robinwood.
Wood.
Robin Hood.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
So wait, I'm sorry. There's Billy, Dan, and what's the other guy's name?
Robert.
Okay, thank you.
Billy and Robert are the brothers. Dan is the cousin.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the men were seen at the party, but no one saw them leave, and then they were never seen again.
No one saw them leave?
Nobody told the police that they saw them leave.
Okay.
Wink, wink.
Okay.
Yes. So there were no reports of the men leaving. However, there is one report of the car leaving, but I will get to that. Okay. So when they didn't return home the next morning, nobody was really concerned. They were known heavy drinkers, and so everybody in their immediate family was just like, they're sleeping off their hangover in the cell somewhere. So that was the assumption. And then they didn't show up for a couple days, and they're like, oh, well, they just went to go check on their moonshine area. They'll be back soon. But it wasn't until that they didn't show up to pick up their paychecks that people were like, maybe something is wrong.
So wait, how long did that take?
The one report, so the party was the 3rd. One report I saw said it wasn't until the 8th that they started looking for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently they were known to just go out into the woods for days on end.
All right. You do you.
Yep. So when they did realize, oh, these men aren't coming back, Curtis Brasher, which is the cousin of Dan and the brother of Dan and the cousin of Billy and Robert.
Okay.
He was, I think, 16 at the time. He and his father checked all the jails in the area. So they just went from jail to jail and asked if the trio was there. Mm-hmm. And when they found out that the trio wasn't there, that's when they filed a missing persons report. And I just love that before they filed the missing persons report, they're like, let's check all the jails first.
Yeah.
I never want that to be anyone's first attempt when I go missing.
Did you say when you go missing?
If I go missing. I don't have any plans to go missing, okay?
Okay. Checking the jails first.
Okay, don't.
I'll file a missing persons report.
Okay. So, once they filed the missing persons report, that's when the police got involved, and the first investigation did not go well. The community was a tight-knitted one, and most of them didn't like the interference of any police at all, and not to mention most of them were illegal moonshiners, so they didn't really want to tell the police anything. There's also one theory that whoever harmed the brothers, because they are presumed dead, whoever harmed them was somebody with a lot of power in town, and so people didn't exactly want to speak up, you know?
Well, that makes sense. I mean, because, okay, when you say nobody said they left the party, obviously they had to have left the party.
In some way, yeah. I mean, it could be one of those things where you just slip out unnoticed, you know? Because it's like, oh, yeah, I saw him there. I didn't notice when he left, if there was enough people at the party.
Yeah.
But it was a house that didn't have water. That's important because, so, the police investigated, and there were reports of gunshots the night of the party that were reported the following morning, but they didn't really investigate it because at the time of it being reported, it's in the boondocks of Alabama. You hear gunshots all the time, you know? And then when they were investigating later, like on the 8th, at that point, people really didn't know. It had been so long, not so long that people forgot. But, you know...
you can't get the specifics of, okay, how many gunshots were there.
Exactly. Yeah. Because even after an hour, sometimes people's memories are flawed, you know? Then the party house's neighbor saw men carrying containers of water from his outdoor faucet to the party house around 2 a.m. on March 4th, the day after the party. And so they were doing like the brigade style where there was like a bunch of men lined up and they'd fill up the bucket and pass it along and then pass the empty bucket back. Yeah.
And I'm assuming this is out of the ordinary.
Yeah, just a little. The assumption... I'll get to it. Never mind. So yes, that was reported. He also said, the neighbor also said that several men left the house carrying pickaxes and shovels. They got into Billy's car and another car and drove off. The other car came back, but Billy's did not.
Okay.
Yes. So that's like, So that's what he reported. And then a man in the area about 60 miles away saw a bulldozer being used to bury a car in the middle of the night in a construction site where Highway 79 was being built.
I feel like I know what happened to these guys.
Wait. So, the bulldozer theory wasn't looked into.
Why?
Because the police didn't do a great job investigating this case.
Okay.
So it just wasn't looked into immediately.
You just didn't feel like digging?
No. And the water and shovel thing was brushed off as well. And the gunshots are a common occurrence, so they didn't really look into that either.
If people had put the bodies in front of the police officers, would the police officers have done anything?
I'm not sure, honestly.
Okay, because okay. Mm-hmm.
So the police brushed off the 3 leads that they had, and so they were unable to find any evidence, and so the investigation stopped.
These are great.
Yes.
Wait, were the police in on it?
I'll get to it. Theoretically, maybe, allegedly. We'll see. Yeah. So Curtis, the brother who was / cousin, who was going from police station to police station looking for them, he began writing letters to state officials to garner more interest in the case because he felt like the police department wasn't doing a good enough job because they weren't. So he actually expressed his frustrations with the police for not doing anything, and he even launched his own investigation, which he kept up until the day he died in the 1980s.
Okay.
So he died without ever finding out what happened to his brother / cousins. Which sounds very hillbilly. Anyway, I'm sorry.
The brother / cousins thing?
Yeah.
Just the
fact that it's in Alabama, no offense to you Alabamians.
What do we just call them? The family and the family
trio.
member.
The trio.
The trio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So his letters were enough to get a deputy assigned to the case, but it was kind of like a pacifying measure rather than we're going to put our best detective on it. It was like, you get a deputy. So his name was Tom Ellison. So they began drilling into the highway to try to find the car that was seen being buried, because it's been such a delay that the highway was built by this point. So instead of like investigating it the day it happened and not having to destroy a highway, they waited too long and now they have to like drill into the highway. And at first I was like, oh my god, this massive drill destroying the highway. No, it's a small drill, and they would basically drill down into the highway, and the particles of what it's drilling into comes up and out, and then they would sift through whatever comes out to see if they can find metal pieces that look like a car or something like that.
That's a nifty drill.
Yeah. And if they found something at that point, they would start digging more in the area. So they started drilling into the highway to try to find the car that was being buried. They hoped that they would find it, that it would be Billy's truck, and that the bodies would be buried in the truck. Because that would just be a tight little present, They could figure it out from there. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything. However, the locals clung to the idea that they were buried under the highway. I mentioned that they picked up paychecks. All 3 of them worked on highway construction.
Okay.
So they're digging under Highway 79, but the brothers, or the trio, were working on Highway 75 at the time. and they were going to start working on Highway 35, but that they never showed up to work on that.
Okay.
Curtis wrote to J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI.
Man, everybody in these episodes is writing to J. Edgar Hoover.
I know,
like,
right?
They write specifically to the top guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did receive one letter back, but it was basically like, believe in your local law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing came of it, and eventually the case went cold again. Then, in 1972, 6 years after the disappearance/assumed death, the county got a new commissioner named Tom Glore, and he reopened the case. He still believed that the car was under the highway, so he ordered people to restart drilling. After 3 years of drilling, to no avail, Glore asked the Navy if he could borrow their metal detectors. So they granted the request, and they found 2 spots of large metal content, but neither were the car, just scrap metal. Then, later that same year, 2 men were amateur metal detecting off the highway. I don't know. The article wasn't clear on whether or not they were just going for fun, like, oh, let's see what we can find, or if they were interested in finding the car.
Mm-hmm.
But they found a large mass that they thought was the size of a car underneath Highway 79.
Mm-hmm.
So they drilled, and the drill brought up metal fragments and bits of rubber from 22 feet deep, which is used in a car. So they
yeah. Thank you, Zoey.
You're welcome. So they believed that they found the car. Mm-hmm. So they sent the metal to FBI for identification and then started digging more in the area. I don't know what happened to the metal that they sent to the FBI for identification. I did not see anything saying that it came back positive or negative for their car.
Okay.
Which is suspicious to me.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So they dug a hole that was 4 feet in diameter and 40 feet deep.
A well.
Essentially. And they found traces of oil in the soil that could be from a car. But then the work was halted.
Why?
Because they didn't actually find the car, apparently, even though it was only 4 feet wide and they could have easily missed the car. And they found car oil in the soil. So the car, it was halted by the sheriff. The sheriff said, no more. You're not going to be digging anymore. Indeed. Then, with the case being brought up again and in people's eyesight again, there's an article that came out with an interview from Tom Ellison, the deputy assigned, and he alleged that he was pulled from the case because he was too close to learning the truth.
Oh my goodness. What is going on?
Yes. So then there's a state investigator, O.M. Rains. First of all, love the last name Rains.
That is a good name.
That is a good name.
Good job, guy.
So he was the state investigator, and he was with it pretty much the entire time, at least until 1974. And he believed as well that the trio were under the highway. 3 witnesses came forward to say that they did see a car being buried, and another one did say that they heard a bulldozer the night of the party. So we know a car was being buried.
Mm-hmm.
Unless these witnesses were lying. But
why would you lie?
Exactly. So Rains believed, I don't know why he thinks this, but he says he thinks that the brothers were killed at the party and then their cousin was killed a few days later and buried in the cemetery. So they think that the brothers were killed and buried with the car, and that the cousin was killed a few days later and then buried in one of the random local cemeteries. They don't know which one.
Now, where would the cousin have been in the meantime?
In a cave? That wasn't just a random guess. I'll get to it.
Okay.
I have a list of theories at the bottom that I'm going to explain to you, but right now I'm just telling you more of the facts of the case. Yes. So Rains also believed that Tom Ellison was correct in thinking that he was pulled off the case because he was too close to solving it. And he said that the sheriff hampered the investigation due to the department's ties to the local bootleggers. He believed that the sheriff was too close with the bootleggers, and if they did a more in-depth investigation, it would be revealed, and the sheriff would lose his job.
Okay.
Yes.
So sorry, I'm going to shut up with my questions.
No, you're good.
Right now, I'm going to tell you right now what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Rival bootleggers, fight, party. I don't know why the cousin dies later. Maybe the cousin dies later. Buried, car. Don't know where the bodies are. Maybe in the car. Probably not in the car. Water to clean the scene. That's what I'm thinking.
Very good idea, Robin.
Thank you.
I'll get to that. I believe you. I agree with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I have a few more details that you haven't learned yet.
I'm sure that there's more to that story.
But basically, yes.
Okay.
Is what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Not factually, allegedly. There we go. So yes, this was never proved. Then, after they disappeared, 60 years after they appeared, to be exact, their case was the oldest active case in the sheriff's department. But still, the officers in the area still received tips about them. One tipster said that they were buried under Highway 31, where they worked on the construction. So they used radar devices to try to find the car under that road, but no car, no bodies.
Okay.
That was just one of the tips. It's like everybody's obsessed with them being on the highway, and they're like, oh, is it 79? Is it 35? Is it 31? Who will know?
And then you're chatting with your neighbor, and then you think you solved it, and then you call the police 20 years down the line, and then you're like, I got the answer for you.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm making fun of that, but we're, 50 years later talking on a podcast, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So before he passed, Curtis was quoted saying, and this is sad, Lord, please shed a little light on this thing, something that will help us find them boys. They've been pitched out there somewhere like animals, in a ditch, an old watery mine, or someplace. All I'm asking is that we find them so we can give them a decent burial.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then a little bit of a twist. In 1984, an ex-convict from Louisiana named T.J. Chambly confessed to participating in the murder of the trio. He had said he had helped dispose of the bodies and the car in an abandoned mine nearby. However, so at first people were excited. They were like, woohoo, we found him! Mm-hmm. So they sent a couple detectives down to Louisiana where he was, and they questioned him. And all I could find from that questioning was the story had inconsistencies, and then he was not charged with the murders.
So my guess is they were thinking it was a false confession.
Probably,
okay.
Yes.
Which
happens.
Do happen.
Yes.
And it still boggles my mind because it makes no sense.
Yeah, no. I don't understand why.
But it happens a lot.
It does. The only way I can understand it is if you're on death row and you're, like, about to die tomorrow, and you're like, but wait, I have 12 more murders I can confess to, and you're trying to elongate your life. I've heard that a lot, and that kind of makes sense to me. Like, it makes sense to me. Not that I would ever be in that position, because I don't think I would ever admit to 12 murders, but...
I wasn't even going down that road.
Well, then you really don't know me enough, Robin, do you?
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Anyway.
No, the next question to ask at the newlyweds game.
Have you murdered anyone? No, but I thought about it.
Lord.
Okay. So, the theories. So, you know what? No, I can't. I wanted to put this one at the last because I think this is, like, the most likely. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the theories refer to this theory, so basically nobody...
You gotta inverted pyramid it.
I do. But the thing with these theories that nobody really has a full theory of what happened. Like, some people have a theory of who killed them. People have a theory of where the bodies are. People have a theory of how they died. But nobody really has, like, a tied together, this person killed them, this is where they put the bodies, this is where the truck is. So, this one theory has the most sense.
Okay.
Murdered for stealing moonshine. So moonshine is the main money maker for the families in this area. It was well known that you did not steal someone's moonshine because you're essentially stealing the bread out of their kids' mouths.
Okay.
So it's very taboo to even touch somebody else's moonshine. And it was, I don't want to say sacred because they didn't, like, worship it, but it was trodden on. Like, it was a code of the land, you know? Okay.
Ooh, good phrase, Zoey.
Thank
Code of
you.
the land.
Yes.
Okay. That should make it into the title.
Okay. I'll see if I can work that in.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So people theorize that the trio stole some moonshines that they happened to come across. So that one article where I said that they dropped somebody off here and then they dropped somebody off here and then went to the party, some people think that they took back roads, and when they were taking back roads, they happened upon somebody else's moonshine distillery, or maybe in the past they had found one and they had regularly stolen from it. But people believe that they had stolen from somebody's moonshine distillery. They didn't know whose, but the trio found it, and they're like, ooh, let's take some moonshine. And then they took the moonshine to the party that they were going to.
Okay.
And then the bootlegger who made that moonshine was also at the party and recognized his own moonshine, either by the taste or the look or whatever, So people believe that they unwittingly stole someone's moonshine, and the person who was at the party was like, you stole my moonshine. And either an argument broke out or something happened where the bootlegger who was stolen from ended up killing the brothers, the trio. Then, this is not reported on anywhere. So please take this with a grain of salt.
Okay. This is just you thinking?
No.
Oh, okay.
There is a man who is calling him Scott Mcpherson. He is on almost every article that allows comments that I could find saying that his uncle did it. I know, right?
Really?
So I can find comments of people saying it was Redbird. Redbird did it. Everybody in the town knows Redbird did it. Because if you look through the comments on these articles, it's like, oh, they were my brother's sister's cousin, and so I'm related to them, and I remember when this happened, or I remember hearing stories about this happening, and people are like, oh, I'm so-and-so's brother, sister, cousin, and so we're related. Nice to meet you, cousin. So most of the comments are like that. Mm-hmm. Some of the comments are, this is what happened to them. I think this has happened. Everybody knows they're buried under 79. And then a lot of the comments are saying, everybody knows Redbird did it. Redbird was the one who killed them. Nobody's going to say anything about Redbird killing them.
So, okay, who's Redbird?
Scott Mcpherson's uncle.
Okay.
So, Scott Mcpherson says that Redbird is actually known as Bud Mcpherson. Okay. And he left comments on several articles. And he said, in one of them, he said that he grew up his entire life hearing that Bud was the killer. Like, his parents just told him, yeah, your uncle killed them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then, on another article over a year earlier than the first one I just mentioned, another user called Scott Mcpherson, or the same one, Scott Mcpherson, commented, it was over moonshine. My uncle was Redbird. Jefferson County law enforcement knows who Redbird was. They just never could prove he was responsible, as they did not find the bodies. Those boys were invited to a poker game after a wedding dance that night, and they disappeared. Redbird knew they had stolen the shine, but they did not, to my understanding, know it was his.
Okay.
I'm going to wrap all this up at the end with my theory from the facts, so I'm just going to leave that at that for now,
okay.
And I'll come back to it. This is where I call upon our audience.
Okay, guys, listen up.
Listen up. In one comment, a man named Bill, simply Bill, no last name, states that he read about this case in a magazine called Front Page Detective. It was the December 1956 issue. The article claims that Redbird ordered the killings and has an image of an anonymous letter that was sent to the Dye family, warning them not to look for the bodies.
Oh, man. Okay.
So, you can buy this magazine on eBay. Unfortunately, I was doing my notes this morning and last night, so I did not get a chance to. And honestly, I don't know if I want to buy the newspaper. But if anyone out there has this newspaper, or magazine, excuse me, and if you can send us photos of that article, I would love that, because I could not find a single mention of Redbird in any of the official articles that I found online, except for in the comments. I could not find a single mention of any anonymous letter at all. There's another comment talking about Charlene. I could not find any Charlene in this story at all. And they said in the comments that they expected Charlene to tell the story once Mr. Bud died. I'm just like, excuse me? There's a Charlene who apparently knows the whole story, and they expected her to say something, but she didn't say anything. And somebody replied to that comment and was like, she would never say anything. She wasn't scared, but she knew what would happen, and she didn't want that to happen. I'm like, isn't that the definition of being scared? Anyway. But, so if somebody can find this article and send me a photo of that letter, that might wrap things up. I honestly am starting to believe this Redbird person was the killer.
This is so interesting.
Because people think that Redbird was the one who sent that letter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next theory can go along with this theory. Like I said at the beginning, people have a theory of who and how, but they don't really tie them together. So this is a how theory. People believe that they were murdered at the party. They believe that it could be anyone, but probably a moonshiner. Probably. Along with the neighbor story about the men with the water and the pickaxes and the shovels, there's also a local store that told the police a man had come into the store after the trio disappeared, asking for, quote, anything that might remove blood from a floor, end quote.
Why would you? That is just the most obvious thing you could possibly ask.
The clerk recommended Red Devil Lye, Lye, which the man bought in large quantity. People believed he was cleaning up the murders of the trio, and so they had the water, it came in, it wasn't good enough, so they went and bought the lye, and they came back and they scrubbed it, and then when, with the shells and the pickaxes and going in the truck, they were burying the bodies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The next theory is a car accident.
Okay.
So people believe, well, the trio is very drunk.
Mm-hmm.
You get drunk off moonshine. That's just a fact.
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
Because moonshine is very strong. I think, isn't it? I've never had moonshine, but I think classic moonshine is like 100 proof. Like, it's insane.
I'm not sure.
I think it's like basically drinking, like, it's not enjoyable to drink.
I think it's intense is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So due to the trio being very drunk, they were famous for being drunk at parties. People didn't really think that this night was any different. However, it was coupled with a storm that night.
Oh, forgot about the storm.
A very bad storm that most people said that they wouldn't go anywhere in. So some people believe that they simply got in a car accident or swerved off the road and ended up in a pond or marsh or something, because it was a bogland essentially. Mm-hmm. And so they could have just drowned in the car, and that's where the car is.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
So this is another one where I want you to take this with a grain of salt, because I found this on Reddit.
Okay. The most reliable place on the internet.
So reliable.
Yeah.
This one person claimed that they were able to go on Google Earth or Google Maps and use satellite mode, and they were able to find a lake or a pond or something off the route they would have taken that looks like it had a green car in it.
Did they provide an image?
They did not provide an image. They didn't say where it was, satellite, like they didn't give us coordinates. They just sort of like, oh yeah, I poked around and I was able to find it. And I'm like,
I'm going to take that with a huge slab of salt.
Slab of salt. Yeah, that sounds about good. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to replicate it. I got bored after about 5 minutes. So I really doubt that for internet points, this person went and then wouldn't be like, it's at these coordinates, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it is true that there have been cases in the past that were solved because somebody was on Google Maps and they saw a truck or car in a pond.
Isn't that nuts?
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's happened at least twice.
Wow.
Yes. Technically, there was never a search of the waterways or boglands on the path back to the cabin where they traveled that night. However, The local roadways, wells, woods, mines, creeks, and caves were all searched in a 25-mile radius. And there was an aerial search of 3 counties.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Was that more recent after their deaths?
That was pretty soon after their deaths, yes.
Okay, so that helps a little bit, just because I was thinking, was the searching actually extensive in that first stretch, because they were letting 3 different leads out the window? It
was almost like they were doing they did the search and rescue part correctly, but not the investigation part correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once we determined that either they're not here or it's too late.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the next theory is that they were shot execution style in a Blount County cave.
Okay.
I don't know why execution style is specified, considering no bodies were ever found. But
I guess I read that as it wasn't a shootout. It was, I'm taking you here to kill you. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is paired with the moonshine theory as well. They believe that they ran into a moonshiner that they were stealing from. And then they were brought to one of the coal mines that was shut down in the area. And they were then killed and their bodies were dumped down a shaft. Mm-hmm. This is supported only by the discovery of a few strands of human hair in the cave. And that I'd be like, well, I mean, people could go out there, And... Yeah. The technology didn't exist back then to test who the hair belonged to. Mm-hmm. This next sentence is what makes me be,
Okay.
The hairs have mysteriously disappeared, so we cannot test them.
See, okay, I get the from that. Mm-hmm. I do. But
it's still just hair.
More like, I can see police getting rid of it because maybe they don't think it ties into anything.
Right.
Or you hear about mismanagement of evidence a lot, and not all of it is necessarily...
corruption.
Yeah.
Okay. Then some people believe that they weren't murdered at the party at all. Okay. Some people believe that they left the party safe and sound, and then they decided to go into the woods to find their moonshine distillery or whatever. And then some unknown fate fell upon them. So either... they were killed, they got in an accident, there was a rock slide, something happened. They got attacked by a bear, who knows? And so their truck is just in the woods somewhere next to their moonshine, and they're all dead at the camp.
Wouldn't other people know where their moonshine
is? Not necessarily. It's kind of a kept secret. Like, only the people who are involved know. But you'd think, like, their family would at least know, but maybe not. I don't know. But some people think they just left and they got in an accident somewhere else or outside the travel zone, and they were planning on coming back in a couple days. Maybe they were just going to go out of state real quick, and then they got in an accident farther than 3 counties over. So some people just believe, yeah, there's a lot of mysterious things, but they probably just got in an accident outside of your zone,
That's totally possible, honestly.
Completely possible. No evidence to support it, but no evidence to not support it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that is suspicious, there's a lot of things that are suspicious. There's actually, there's a lot of things that are suspicious. There's several people hearing the bulldozer.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that there's no real accounting for why a bulldozer would be doing things.
In the middle of the night.
If you're thinking about a bulldozer burying something after a storm, you're talking mud. How do you move mud enough to bury something?
Unless it's gravel. Because it is for a highway.
Or that. Okay, well, I guess that would... I'm sorry, are there gravels near highways? Gravels? Well, individual gravels?
There's different layers in roads. Like,
what?
Do I have to Google the anatomy of a road?
No, you don't have to do that. Sorry.
Yes, but there is different levels. It's not just cement on dirt. Like, they put gravel and rocks and slabs and concrete and then cement. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pretend I knew that.
Okay. So another one is that there's a theory. This isn't how they died or why. This is just what happened to their bodies. Some people suspect that they were fed to pigs, which is a common thing because pigs will literally eat bone. So if you feed a human to a pig, you will not find any evidence of that human later.
I guess there really isn't any accounting for what happened to their bodies. I mean, I guess one of the thoughts could be maybe they were put into the car.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily need to be it. And also, if they were put into the car, then you have another thing identifying them.
Yeah. And so, like, this theory doesn't explain where the car went. I mean, it could be hand in hand with the bulldozer theory. It could be maybe somebody hid it in their shed, because from what I can tell, they didn't investigate anyone. Like, they didn't say, oh, you're my suspect. Let me check your shed, you know?
Yeah.
You like my accent?
I only registered it was an accident after you said it was an accident.
Accent.
Sorry. It was good. Do you want to say it again?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
The last theory is that a person in power was the person behind their deaths.
Okay.
So similar to what Raines and Tom Morris were saying, people believe that the person responsible for the deaths of the trio is someone who was very powerful in town. Commenters that lived in the town said several things in the comments. One specifically called herself Margaret Simpson, so I'm not entirely sure if that's her full legal name. I knew the mom and dad of the Dye boys, and Robin Wood people were closed-mouthed and scared to death. They will never find them unless someone comes forward. It's going to be like a Hoffa situation. People are too afraid to talk. Hoffa refers to Jimmy Hoffa, a man who disappeared in 1975. He was believed to be killed by the mafia.
Oh, okay.
Which he had ties with. Yeah. But then it looked like he was going to report on them to the FBI. And then he magically disappeared.
Okay.
I don't know why I said it in that voice.
Okay.
So, Robin, are you ready for it?
What you think happened?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm about to spin you a tale.
Spin me a tale.
Before I say it, allegedly. This is 100%. I was reading these notes, putting them together, and this is the story that formulated in my mind.
Okay.
The brothers took the moonshine they just found a random distillery of moonshine. And they're like, hey, let's take this to the party. So they took it to the party. Redbird was there. He tasted the moonshine that they brought in, and he knew immediately it was his moonshine. Redbird was a person in power in this town. He had men that worked for him. He was well known. He was in power. Yes. So he goes up to the brothers and he says, this is a mighty fine moonshine you have. You did great in making it. I want to take you to where I make my moonshine. And he somehow rused them to be like, hey, come with me. And though they knew that they stole it, they didn't want to tell him that they stole it, you know, so they went along with him. I believe that there might have been an argument that happened. So there's a veering point. Either they went along with him to the caves and that's where he killed them, and then just left their bodies there and then had somebody bury the truck, or they got into a physical altercation at the party where one of the brothers was killed, and then he took the other two, or maybe both of the brothers were killed, and then he took the cousin to the mines and killed him there. Because for some reason, they believe, Raines' person believes that the brothers were killed prior to the cousin.
Okay.
His logic was never explained, but if he thought it, he knows more than I do. So the brothers were killed at the party. I'm piecing this together as I speak it. So the brothers were killed at the party. Blood on the floor. He sends one of his henchmen to go get the devil eye. Right? And they do the water to clean up the blood. They put the bodies in the truck. They kill the brothers. Or the brothers are then buried with the truck off of 79.
Okay.
And then the cousin is brought to the coal mines where he is killed. And then his body is left there. And then Redbird, who is very popular in town, tells the Dye family not to search for the bodies. And he tells the sheriff not to do... He has some power over the sheriff to tell him not to do any looking into it. And as I've learned looking at these stories, these comments, these people are very proud of their family ties. They can find... Like, the article I said... that was written by, like, the baby cousin of the one of them, or I guess technically it would be both of them. He had it was his blog, essentially, and he literally had stories broken down by the last name. Like, this is about the Chester family, you know? Oh. So, like, people are really tied to their family, you know? So, if that Redbird family is still powerful in town, that would tell you why it continues to not be solved, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's what I believe happened.
Okay.
Allegedly, yes. So, just a couple more things before we wrap up this story. So, there's a documentary that is currently being worked on by a local named Rob Thomas. Originally, he was going to write a book, but then he found out that Curtis was going to write a book, and so he switched it to a documentary. Okay. But Curtis never published his book before he died. So, Rob Thomas planned on releasing it in 2016. However, he actually posted in his Facebook page December 2020 saying, "For personal reasons, I had to step away from this project for a time. I'm ready to get back to this project." And then he called for information and stories from people. If it comes out, we have to watch it.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah, and do an episode on it. But can I tell you what the name of the documentary is going to be?
What?
Red Devil Lie, Lie.
Okay.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. Thank you very much for sharing that.
So, last little tidbit before I sign off. Anyone with information on the disappearance of Billy Dye, Robert Dye, or Dan Brasher should call Captain Steve Green of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department at the phone number 205-325-5069.
Okay.
Yep. I found that disclaimer at the end of almost every article that I read, so putting it here too.
All right.
Yep.
Well, Zoe, thank you for sharing that story today.
You're welcome.
It's a lot of information to go over in a day. Like, as in, for you to have researched.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not really.
Okay.
You know, I did all my homework the night before.
You're just really good at cramming.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Well, thank you for sharing all this information with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, review, and tell a friendo. That is the best way to let people know about the podcast you like.
Yes. And if you want to see my sources, you can go to hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com, and you can also see my blog there as well. And if you have your own spooky story that you'd like to submit to us, you can send it to hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com. And spooky means paranormal and true crime.
We're on the Twitter sphere at Haunted House, and we're also on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Haunted Hospitality. You can find us there. We would love to see you.
Stay spooky!